Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Thanks for joining us. We all know that children are God's precious gift to us, to our parents and grandparents. We also know that children are a joy. They're innocent. They're magnificent. And we know they're our future. But did you know the future is now? Yes, children are making remarkable strides in so many areas of our life right now. We don't have to wait for the future because it's here. Children are making contributions to the art, science, humanities, medicine, and the environment. Some have become best-selling authors, and they're children. And they're exhibitors at museums. They even have patents for their inventions, such as this. This is an IV bag. Does it look like an IV bag? It looks like a soft, cuddly teddy bear, but it's an IV bag that was invented by a child. There's so much to say, and we have two programs as we discuss the Children's Collection. It was founded here, right here in New Mexico, and we're going to talk about all the interesting inventions, contributions that children are making now for our future, because their future is now with us. We'll be back talking about the Children's Collection right after this. Stay with us. Have I piqued your interest? I mean, can you imagine? Okay, what's this, a deck of cards? Oh, what's different about this deck of cards? You're going to have to stay with us and find out a little bit more about that. As we talk about the Children's Collection, it's going to be a repository for all of these creations that you're going to see in the program today. It's a place for children to learn from other children. And of course, we're going to learn from them as well. And where children are going to be inspiring other children. And the founder of this Children's Collection is with me today. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. I have Shander Bawden. Shander Bawden as my guest. And she's going to be talking about the Children's Collection, and there's so much to talk about. And I'm going to just share this deck of cards. What's so different about a deck of cards? I mean, children did not create this.
No, but they recreated it. So that was done by Mayan Siegel in Israel. She was 13 years old, and she asked her father, "Why is the king worth more than the queen?" And the father had no answer. And so they designed, I think together, they designed this deck of cards where the king and the queen have equal value. And there's also a prince and a princess of equal value. And you're still able to win games.
Okay.
Even though,
even
though they're the same.
And
yes.
I'm thinking, Shander, I showed you this.
Yes.
I showed the audience this.
Yes. So
this is another invention.
Yeah, and this was invented by a girl named Ella Casano, I believe, where she had a chronic disease, and so she was in the hospital constantly with IV drips from the age of 7 on for many, many years, and the IV bag scared her. So she said, maybe it would be nice to have a little cover for the IV bag. So she made this one out of cloth. And eventually she did this one because it's easier to clean for the nurses and the staff there. And so now she donates them to hospitals around the country, or probably around the world. I don't even know. But yeah, she was, I think, 9 maybe when she came up with it.
And you're right, IV bags are kind of scary.
They are scary. Looking
you look at any movies, TV, they're dripping. You know they're going to go soon.
Yes, and we have the patent for this as well. Did I bring it? Maybe
you
not,
have.
I have the patent.
The Children's Collection. Tell me, what is the Children's Collection?
So it is a repository for remarkable works by kids 18 and under. And by remarkable, I don't mean necessarily that they're geniuses or that they're precocious or anything else, but they are works that have somehow changed the lives of other kids or people, or, for example, artwork that has won competitions. This is one of my favorites. This is Foster Romano, and he is the youngest winner of a juried mural competition in Colorado Springs. And so this is a a copy of one of the murals itself. He did the same one in black and white as well. So he won this competition when he was 16 years old. So I feel like that makes it remarkable. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
It's not the sort of thing where I'll be able to collect everything by every kid, you know? So it's going to have to be curated in a way.
And right now it's online.
Right now
we
it's
can see
online.
this. We can see this.
You can see it online.
Online, we can see all these different things that you so graciously brought to the studio. Thank you so much for that. But online, but in the future, you're hoping to have actually a storefront.
A building. Yes, I would love to have a building with a lending library so that all the books that are in there are written by kids and are lent to kids. They can be inspired by that. I want to have a museum so that they can walk around and see, you know, artwork and inventions. I want to have a theater because there are children's film festivals. For example, there was a boy, his name was Ryan, I don't remember, Levine. And he started a film festival at the age of 12 because he loved movies and he loved making movies. And it was a film festival for films by kids, not just for kids. And it's still going today, many years later. And the profits go to cures for Parkinson's disease. And then there's one in Mumbai, Kids Cinema. And they have a children's section for films by children. And then they're juried and judged, and I have a few of those on our website as well.
But as a collection of inventions and artwork and books, we have a lot that we're going to talk about from New Mexico. You have documented this, categorized this, cataloged this, and put it all online for people to find. Where can they find it online?
www.thechildrenscollection.org.
And
I also will do like pop-up exhibits.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
All your pop-up exhibits and how you're going to be raising money, but how you came up with this idea. I mean, why didn't anybody before you, Sean, come up with this? But you told me you read the book Where the Mountains Meet the Plains, the Cimarron County Past and Present. Now, this is a beautiful book, kind of a big book, written by kids.
That's right. In a 4th grade elementary school, or third or fourth. I found that on the bookshelf of a friend of mine who has a house in Angel Fire. So I was just looking through the bookshelves and I came across this. And when I read it, and I read it from cover to cover in one sitting and just fell in love with it. I just fell in love with it because I thought, you know, wouldn't it be cool if all schools did books like this? Let's say there's a school in Massachusetts, a 4th grade class that writes the history of their county, and they can exchange the books and learn from each other in, you know, bite-sized pieces of information written by children their same age, so in language they understand, you know.
And what types of things are interesting in here?
Well, there are photographs, there are drawings, there are maps, there are histories.
Things for kids to do, but the history.
Histories, yes, of people and places.
Dogs and horses.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the class did this, and you
That's
figured.
right. And the amount of work and love that went into it, I just thought that was so beautiful. And the teacher, obviously, they must have loved this teacher to put in that kind of effort. And
written by 4th grade,
that's
2002, right. Mrs. Betty Knox. I mean, amazing.
Yes.
And then different.
It's just lovely, you know. And so, and there are more.
And where did you find this?
Well, on a bookshelf.
On a bookshelf.
At a friend's house.
Not in a library.
Was not in a library.
And you thought?
I thought, what happens to books like these? You know, do they just end up in people's attics, like in, you know, mother's attic, and eventually they get tossed out? Do they ever end up in a library? I'm sure there's a copy in the school library, right? But what about other school libraries? And as an archivist, and you know, I'm interested in preservation of all types, I thought it would be cool to have these in every school and then switch them for education. But then I started looking at what kids have done. You know, I started researching, you know, kids who wrote books, kids who did this.
And I'm thinking kids will do it when they're adults.
Exactly.
Kids will do these things as adults.
That's right. That's right. But they do remarkable stuff as kids. You know,
I
it's
didn't
just
know. No, I
unbelievable.
did not know.
Yes, they do amazing things. And when I started looking, you know, like youngest scientist or youngest inventor, just over and over, I would get these Google results that were astonishing. You know, just astonishing. Like this one woman, Dacia Taylor, she was 17 and she was in high school, and she invented sutures that turn color when you have an infection. And she used beet juice to create these sutures. You know, Jack Andrade is a really well-known young man who he discovered a way to detect pancreatic cancer early. There's a guy who's done.
Wait, tell me, how does a kid discover this?
Well, I don't know. You know,
But he did.
They all, any kid who gets into this sort of, they get an idea, and they are able to focus, and they are able to experiment. They get support from their parents or their school or whatever, and they're able to solve problems. They can solve problems. So.
And so you first started with a book, thought you needed to put a library together, then you
Yes.
investigated that, my God, kids are not just writing books. They're creating
Exactly.
artwork. They're creating inventions and patents.
That's right. They're
And
patenting
how long ago
things.
did you decide to?
Well, it started out as a little passion project for me, you know what I mean? And then the more I talked to people about it, this was back in 2021, and the more I talk to people and the more I do pop-up exhibits, it's an idea that really engages people. So I thought, you know what, maybe this could be a real thing, you know? I want to put it out there and see what happens. And so
And you are putting it out there.
I'm putting it out there.
And before your museum and your film studio
That's
and all of
right.
this are created
That's
here in
right.
Albuquerque,
Yep.
you have pop-up
Yep.
exhibits.
Yes, I've done the Rail Yards Market, I did a couple schools, art walk, and then the latest one on Saturday was Somos Albuquerque, which was wonderful. Met a lot of people. You know, I love to like walk up to people and say, guess what? You know, I walk out of out in front of the table.
Tell us,
guess what?
Okay, tell us right now. I'm just coming to.
Yeah.
Meeting you now at your pop-up, and you. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Diane.
Yes, I'm Shander. It's so nice to meet you. Guess what?
What?
Everything that you're looking at in this exhibit was made by a child.
No.
Yes. And people's jaws drop, you know, their eyes widen, and they just can't believe it, you know. This one at Somos Albuquerque, there was a man who just stopped, and, you know, he just couldn't move, and he said, that is an amazing piece of work. I was like, yeah, that was done by a 5-year-old boy, Miles Minishada, who now does red carpet photography. I think he's 9 now, you know.
No, what do you mean he does red carpet photography?
He's famous, you know. He does red carpet photography. So, and a lot of these kids do end up doing, you know, extremely well, even as children.
Tell me about this.
Or
what? Tell me about this.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's done by a boy named Victor. I forget his real last name, I forget. But Victor Vichy is his Instagram handle. And he's autistic, non-communicative. But he does the most unbelievable paintings of nature and animals. And he's now has his own store. So that's a print of the original. And he's got, you know, millions of followers.
So back to your greeting people, guess what? What
Yes.
else do they say? They say they can't believe it. What else are people interested in hearing about?
You know, they want to know why they don't know this. do you know what I'm saying? I can't believe that. I didn't know that Christmas lights were invented by a child. I didn't know that earmuffs were invented by a child. And so some of them are really excited by that idea, that some of the stuff we use every day is invented by children. And then others are just intrigued by the fact that a child, you know, for example, this girl was really into coding, and she wanted to teach her friends and her brother. Computer coding.
Okay.
She was, I think, 11, and she wanted to teach her friends and her brother. So she made a board game that would help them learn how to code, you know? And they're like, you know, why isn't, can I buy that in the stores? Are you selling it here, you know? And I'm not yet, but, you know, with the building will come a gift shop, so.
But first you're looking to raise funds.
I'm looking to
you're
raise
a nonprofit
funds. I'm a nonprofit.
to inspire kids, to showcase kids.
That's exactly right. And I wanted to, what I'm thinking right now is to get a bus. I want to get like a mobile lending library, a mobile exhibit. And, you know, a section of the bus can be for films by children, right? A section can be for fashion. A section can be for the library. You know, it'll just be, you know, spread around so they can like peruse it like a room. You know what I mean? And then I can drive around to rural areas. I can go to every school in Albuquerque. Apparently, the middle schools here have something called the Genius Hour. And that's where kids are supposed to be able to do whatever, pursue whatever they want, anything they're interested in. So what if, like once a semester, the children's collection school bus pulls up at Genius Hour and they get to walk through and be inspired, you know?
You've gone to just a few schools.
Yeah, well, Cottonwood Classical, for sure. And well, so when when I first started, I was doing a little bit of fundraising by, I do these folded books, right? And so I was trying to sell folded books in order to raise funds.
What's a folded book?
It's where you take, you fold the pages in a certain pattern, and then a paperback book, for example, will curl on itself and it becomes an ornament. And then a hardback book will, you can lay it out flat and make sculptures out of the pages and stuff like that. So I was doing that, and one of them was Cottonwood Classical, and that's where I met someone from Albuquerque involved. And I was able to get a little bit of money from them to build the collection. But really, I kind of want a full court press now. You know
well,
what
because
I mean?
I imagine going to a school, if someone were to come and tell me when I was in 4th grade that
Yes.
kids your age are creating things, I wouldn't
Yes.
ever imagine that certainly would have been inspirational, saying, my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. But I only learned that as an adult, not as a kid.
That's right. But I knew that as a kid because, wait, one of my favorite books, if I can find it.
The mice.
She Was Nice to Mice.
She Was Nice to Mice.
She Was Nice to Mice. And this was written by Ali Sheedy when she was 12. And it came out when I was 10. And I just couldn't believe that a child had done this kind of, it was very mature. Also, the illustrations were done by a friend of hers who was like 13. It's got adult themes. It's a chapter book.
So you knew kids were doing things.
I did, and then around the same time in my 7th grade class or something in elementary school, they wanted a mascot, right? And so they did a competition. And a couple of my friends won this competition with a howling coyote or something like that. And when I saw the T-shirts and I was like, oh my God, that was done by someone my age. And then in high school, I knew a boy who wrote a mass. You know, he was a musician, a piano player, and he wrote a mass that the choir sang. Yeah, so
where did you
throughout
grow up?
my life, Brookline, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. So there's always been stories that I've come across of these kids who do amazing things, and it's wonderful. It's inspiring.
What I knew when I was growing up, kids who were extraordinary went on to college, I remember. Because I lived in St. Paul, Minnesota, near the University of Minnesota, and my classmates who were extraordinary left elementary school and went on to college. So I didn't know what they did, but we're going to have a high school reunion soon. I'm going to find out if they come to it, what they've done with their lives.
Yes.
These extraordinary people. Tell me more about this patent here.
Okay.
Now, I saw this, and kids do patents. You mentioned this. So I'm saying, Shander, these are earmuffs.
They are earmuffs.
And I, from St. Paul, wear earmuffs, and here in New Mexico, wear earmuffs.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're comfortable.
Right.
But these earmuffs have a patent.
That's right, because Chester Greenwood, he was, I think, 15 maybe. There were earmuffs before that, but they weren't comfortable and they weren't tight to the head, so they were always falling off. So he patented an earmuff that was padded and stayed on your head.
And we're talking about 1877.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So they have been around. But
They had
your
been
point
around,
is,
but
we're not just talking about kids. I'm thinking kids this day and age are doing extraordinary things. You're saying back in the 1800s,
absolutely,
kids did. And that's where you're collecting all of this. Not just
Yes.
present day geniuses, but kids in the past.
That's right. And like the popsicle, let me see if I can find that pad. The popsicle was invented by a boy, his last name is Epperson. He accidentally left some juice out in the cold and it froze, and then he patented the popsicle, you know? And
what
it
year
hasn't
is that?
changed since. That was 1924.
1924.
Yeah,
so
see, he was
you're
11.
collecting all of these things.
Yes, and the Christmas lights are also, this is another case like the earmuffs where a child popularized the colored Christmas lights. They had already been invented, but Albert Sadaka is given credit for making them what they are today.
That was 1930.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you doing your research?
Well, so mainly I'll do something like Google youngest inventor or youngest author, youngest artist, whatever. And from there, try to find primary sources about these kids, like the patents, for example, about how they came up with the idea. I end up, unfortunately, I mean, a lot of cases, I can only do it through news articles, right? So I try to find a news article that, you know, from a valid source that talks about, you know, this kid who, well, and actually that's something else, is that you read these things, right? Like ages ago, I read about a story about a teenager who invented tattoo removal cream that worked in like a week and a half. And I've never seen it again, you know? So there should be a place, a repository, where all of these ideas, you know, can end up together. So, I mean, you read stories here and there in the news about amazing kids, but what if they were all collected in the same place?
Well, that's what you're doing.
Exactly. So,
Shander, that's what you are doing here, right here in New Mexico.
yes, and I've got a lot of New Mexican works, actually, books and
We're going to talk about that on our
invention.
next show.
Oh.
And also for our audience, you see all these things. If we haven't pointed it out in this program, we're going to talk about them in the next program because there's so much to talk about. What have you, as you've researched this, what sets these kids apart, would you say? Are they geniuses?
That is such a good question because no, they're not all genius. Some of them are, absolutely. Some of them are hard workers. Some of them. So there's a young woman. Her name is Sammy. She started the Sammy's Bench Project, and now she has a podcast, Sammy Smiles podcast. And she's, you know, again, she was like 10. And her idea was she saw someone who was new to school, who was alone, didn't have any friends, you know, eating lunch by themselves. And she said, you know, maybe there should be a place where kids can sit and then invite other kids to come and, you know, sit with them. And so she ended up collecting like bottle caps, and she ended up finding someone who could make benches out of recycled bottle caps, and then she donates them to schools. You know? It's not that she was a genius. I mean, it's a brilliant idea, of course, but I don't know. I think she had an idea and a passion, and she wanted to pursue it, and she succeeded.
And I guess as a kid, she was told that you could do it. As a kid, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I always thought as a kid you had to wait till you were an adult to do something.
And actually, that's another story I have. I invited a young woman from Cottonwood Classical to be on the board of directors. And when I was talking to her about it, she said, you know, she did Model UN and things like that. And she said, every time you do something like that, some adult gets up and they tell you how you're the future and you're going to save the world and this and that. And then the minute you leave the auditorium, they don't let you do anything. And so this shows that they can do anything. There are awards given out for people, like the Diana Award given out for kids who have made a difference in the world, or the Barron Prize for young heroes, or
Well, I bet you can find a lot of
there
material
are so
there.
many
There's a
out.
lot of material at that point.
Exactly.
But you're
There's so
right.
much
That
out
was the
there.
feeling I had. You're the future, but you're going to have to wait because the future is in the future when we need you. Not now.
Exactly. You can't do it now. But why can't you do it now?
But some kids are finding out they can.
They can.
That's why I wondered where they're getting their inspiration from their particular schools.
That's
or
a really
from other
good question.
kids?
Or their parents. I don't know. I don't know. Some of them are from the poorest neighborhoods around the world, and they create these things. Like a little girl in South America invented a water filter thing using stuff she found on the streets, or there was a boy in Africa who built was it a windmill? I forget, but some kind of energy source for his village,
So on your side, how do you characterize these? And again, I'm thinking about kids here, not just here in New Mexico, which we have, but kids from the United States. But you're researching kids all over the world.
It's all over the world, yeah.
And all of the history. Not just
Yes.
today's kids, extraordinary kids, but kids of the past.
Yeah.
How is your website broken up?
It's broken up by collection. So I have writers, artists, composers, inventors, scientists, filmmakers, entrepreneurs. So each one has its own page with a picture and a little blurb about.
And how about age? 0 to 3, 3 to 6,
I
6
haven't
to
done
9.
that, but that's a very good idea. I should do that. Now that I
that'd be-
think about it, because there's like there's a book by Dorothy Strait. She was 4 when it was published. And her parents, she wrote a story for her parents. It's called How the World Began. And she wrote it for her parents who published it. For a while, she was the record holder for the youngest author to be published. But
4
yes,
years
having
old.
the age groups, that makes a lot of sense.
Because there aren't that many. I mean, it's from 0 to 18. Not that
Right.
many years you have to worry about
That's right.
as
That's
their
right.
children.
Yeah.
How far do you go? To 18, 19, 21?
18, and 18 and under. I think of, sports in the United States. It's like my daughter played hockey, and so she was in a U18, which meant 18 and under. And so I feel like that's a good cutoff right there. But then, for example, like Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. It was published when she was 19, so I'm just assuming she wrote it when she was 18.
So she's in the club.
I'm fudging that one a little bit.
She wrote Frankenstein.
Yes, when she was a teenager.
What other things should I know that I don't know about? Popular things. I mean, we have things here I'm not familiar with, but
Yeah, I'm trying to think of everyday things, because people are attracted to different parts of this project, right? Some people really love the stuff that you use every day. They can't believe that a child invented something that you use every day. And then other people are really intrigued by children who are interested in history, or children who are interested in nature, children
Okay.
who do board games.
so we're going to find out all about that because we have another program. Thank you so much, Shander Bawden,
Thank you for
doing
having
this
me.
and for bringing all this to KCHF TV and Issues and Answers. And the next show, we're going to talk more about scientific inventions and everyday things that we're using that were invented by children. And you can find it all here at KCHF TV and also the Children's Collection online. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.